George Carlin said, think of how stupid the average person is and realize half of them are stupider than that. What is a real life example that you've seen that validates this view? I went to a Christian school, and although I was/am Christian, I wasn't that kind of Christian. My teacher told us the earth was 6,000 years old and that dinosaurs didn't exist. And I raised my hand and I was like, that's not what the shows my mom watches on the Science Channel say. And then the school removed my mom from the teacher appreciation committee that she was the head of because we believed in science. Had a girl ask me if I was into women while I was on a date with her, a woman. I was sitting next to a girl who was notoriously dumb at our school. I thought people were being too hard on her until she straight up asked Google, who invented water? Someone asked me, how long have you been Asian for? My whole fucking life? I knew a girl in high school who wanted to breathe fire. She put lighter fluid in her mouth and instead of blowing it onto a flame, she lit the fire inside her mouth and tried to blow it out. She came to school the next day with bandaged half her face. A woman I used to work with who insisted that any animal can reproduce with any other animal. She believed that sperm from any animal was the same and that DNA was irrelevant. She believed this because she once saw some sickly, possibly deformed puppies and decided that they must have been half dog, half rat. Reminds me of a Facebook post that went, just found out China is like 12 hours in front of us. Why didn't they tell us about 9/11? Fuck China, 3 billion people died. Not verbatim, but close. In grade 10, we had a science test and the teacher gave 1 point for putting your date on the paper and 1 point for putting your name on the paper. And then there were 98 points for the rest of the test. A guy sitting in front of me got 0.5 out of 100 and didn't write the date, only his first name. That's fucking hilarious. Reminds me the time of my classmate copied the test answers of a smarter classmate in 2nd grade. He got caught because he copied the name too. 2nd grade, I saw that happen in high school. The next day, the teacher was just savagely, publicly calling it out. 30 plus years later, I still remember him starting out class congratulating Todd for doing so well on the test, but next time he didn't need to hand in 2 copies. Oh, and by the way, I didn't get anything handed in by Mike. Sorry, Mike, you get a 0. University professor here, I have caught it at this level. I knew a kid who drank bleach to prove it wouldn't kill you. A week later, he showed up to school after taking a shot. He said he proved his point when the teacher asked why he was bragging about it. Mr. Hawk just said, but you can't argue, without that medical treatment, you would have died though. You even said you have stomach damage and burns to your esophagus yourself. This kid was bragging about that. He was not mentally disabled or otherwise, he was just kind of an idiot. High school history. Topic: Titanic. So the iceberg was the size of yes, Miss D. Don't icebergs fall out of the sky? To this day, I picture an iceberg the size of a small island falling from the sky, being seen from hundreds of miles away like a fucking meteor. I used to work in aircraft maintenance. There was a cage used for putting tires inside when pumping them up, to protect people if the tire busts due to high pressures involved. Well, a story we always got told was of a trainee that was told to pump a tire up and was instructed, make sure you use the cage. Well, lo and behold, someone checked on him 5 minutes later and there he was, squeezed inside the cage with half the tire inflated. A former coworker was talking about how she wanted to go back to school and get her master's degree because she only had a bachelorette degree and wanted more job opportunities. I said, do you mean bachelor's degree? She insisted it was pronounced bachelorette when it was given to a woman. Then she led me back to her office and pointed to her diploma to the word baccalaureate and said, see, bachelorette. I had a coworker, really sweet girl but dumb as shit, tell me she smoked American spirits because they were non-addictive, see? As she showed me the box. Oh no, honey, that says no additives. Such a sweet, stupid girl. She was a good server at least. My ex had a student who would occasionally misspell his own name. Turned in a very well-written essay that just so happened to be clearly printed off the internet. It even included the URL at the bottom. He gave the kid a 0. Kid's grandmother came into the office completely distraught because she knows her grandson wrote that essay. Her proof? He said he wrote it. When it was shown to her on the internet, she insisted that it must have been written and he put it on the internet himself. Thank goodness, the principal was a good one and let her know that she didn't buy that for a minute. Also, when I was a teller, I asked a man for an ID. He showed me his personalized belt buckle. When I said that wasn't enough, he offered to get his sister from the car so she could tell me who he was. He didn't understand why neither of those would work. Who else would wear a belt buckle with my name on it? Why would my sister lie to you? She doesn't want any of my money. The people burning down 5G towers to prevent COVID-19. I used to manage a retail store that sold teen clothing, so as expected, I primarily had teens working for me. One employee came back to the room while I was on break and asked what I was eating. Somehow, the topic turned into how I should have brought chicken for lunch because she wanted chicken. I told her I was vegetarian and therefore I don't eat meat. She tells me chicken is not meat, it's poultry, and vegetarians can't eat poultry. She said at the grocery store aisles they list meat and poultry separately, so they're obviously different. We argued for a couple of minutes before I told her to go back to the sales floor. She didn't last long at the job, but damn. I once used a flashlight on my phone to look for my phone underneath the couch. Definitely felt like a dumbass for the rest of the day. I was searching for my glasses for 15 minutes after realizing I'm wearing them. At a work Christmas party in a Mexican restaurant, an Irish colleague was trying to argue the pronunciation of jalapenos with the Mexican waitress was jalapenos. He wasn't joking. He got so upset with her, taking the piss out of him. He made a scene and we almost got thrown out. On the Man Show, they set up a booth on some pier, I think it was Santa Monica, and they were getting women to sign up to end women's suffrage. Tons of women were signing up. Obviously, being the Man Show, this was a joke on women, but in reality, the amount of people in general who do not know suffrage is the right to vote and not some sort of suffering is far too high. The women that called into the radio station to complain about deer crossing signs on a highway, saying that the deer will see the sign and consider this a safe place to cross the road. One of my nieces had a cold as a toddler and was breathing through her mouth. My ex-brother-in-law flipped out because he didn't want her to get carbon monoxide poisoning from breathing through her mouth instead of her nose. The normal way. The news doesn't show how often people call for BS. It's daily. I was a 911 operator for 7 years. Here are some examples. The bacon was fake bacon and not real bacon on their fast food. Are homeless people allowed in the park? Someone called to tell us we don't need to use our lights and sirens at night on our emergency vehicles because it woke up their baby. Broken heart, asked for an ambulance, not chest pain, it was just a breakup that just happened. Didn't like the way the neighbors threw out their garbage, tons of calls about being the wrong race in their neighborhood, too much MSG in their Chinese food, pretending that someone was being kidnapped, tying up several resources for almost an hour for an April Fool's joke. Our jurisdiction makes it very hard to get people in trouble for calling 911, even if it's just for BS. Had a guy ask me if I was really attached to my children. When I didn't answer and just made a questioning face, he went on to explain that he doesn't date women with kids. Single mom was clearly stated on my profile, so he was hoping I'd say no and just get rid of him, I guess. The fact that the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration has to have a section on their site explaining why they can't use nuclear weapons against hurricanes is far worse idea than you could possibly imagine. When my mom unironically claimed that the moon landing was fake because the moon was like 40 times the size of Earth. How that proves it was fake, I don't know. Hate to think she raised me. When farms have trouble producing their crops and you ask some dipshit if it worries them. I don't get my food from a farm. I get it from Walmart. At the start of working from home due to Sea Void, I had a few users submit tickets for connectivity issues. These tickets got through 2 lines of support before landing in my queue. Turns out that corporate Wi-Fi doesn't follow you home and you need home internet in order to connect to the VPN. I recently spent 20 minutes on the phone with a board member trying to diagnose why his camera wasn't working for our online meetings. Funny thing is, you actually need to have a camera in order for it to work. Reminds me of the first day my mom watched a movie on our new DVD player in the mid-2000s. We rented something from Blockbuster and at the end of the movie my mom hits the rewind button. I asked what she was doing and she said, "You're supposed to rewind it before you return the movies." When I was able to breathe again, I told her you don't need to rewind discs. At the DMV, I went to renew my license. I was in the waiting room with the computers people use to take the written portion. The clerk sat a man down and looked him in the eyes and said, "If you pull out your phone, it's an automatic fail." The window licker says, "Alright," while pulling out his phone and immediately failing. I had a fraternal male twin, I am female, and in high school, I had a girl ask if we were identical. I said no, he's a dude, and she was like, "No, I mean genetically, are you identical?" And I just stared at her, wondering if she skipped all of our science classes to not know the answer. Thank you guys for watching, please like and sub to the channel if you're new, and let me know if you want more content like this in the future.